Welcome to Hammerspace Recording. My name is Troy Numberman, and today we're looking at the Peavey 6505 module for the Synergy system. Thanks so much for joining me for another video. This is, I think, the 5th demo I've done of a Synergy module so far. On the bench there, we've got the 6505, which is a module I have tried before a couple of years ago, not too long after it came out. I've had various 5150s and 6505s and whatnot come through the studio, for years and years. I'm reasonably familiar with how they sound and how I like to dial them in. Personally, I've owned a currently own a 5150 script version from whenever that was, sometime in the 90s. I've had a 5152. I've got a 5153, like one of the original ones, 50 watt in the rack, which you might be able to see. And yeah, they, as a sound, I've said this before to people, but in many ways, it is the perfect high gain amp. The original one I'm talking about, and the module does a pretty good job of replicating that as well. If you're into more boutique amps, maybe that's not so cool to hear, but what I find is like there are certain amps that you really, to get the most out of them, you have to play them in a certain way. Amps I would put into that category might be something like an older Marshall or a Fryette, VHT, maybe even a Soldano. So something that has lots of gain, but you kind of still have to play it either at volume, we have to play into it in a certain way to make the amp respond. I find with amps like the 5150 design, and the dual rectifier is sort of similar as well, there's so much gain on there that no matter what you do, you kind of sound okay playing it. In terms of a studio amp, again, it's not super sexy, it's not vintage and boutique, but the amount of times I've put up my 5150 or my 5153, and it's just won a shootout over a lot of the other amps that I maybe prefer to play a little bit more. It's a bit of a shame, really. It doesn't seem as sexy and cool, but it's certainly a great amp, and I'm very happy to have the originals in my collection. The module is a great addition to that, and I think to have that sound, that 5150, 6505, that EVH, whatever sound, somewhere in your arsenal, I think it's quite useful and it's quite important. So we'll head over to the Reamp section, have a little bit of a playthrough, and we'll come back after and have a chat about the module. Like always, we are reamping riffs, which is my 97 Les Paul standard with bare knuckle cold sweats, through my Undertone Audio GB tracker, through the Syn20IR, through a Marshall that's mic'd up in the other room with a single SM57, and it's an old vintage 30 speaker. So let's go have a listen and we'll have a chat afterwards. right, so this is the sound that I've got up at the moment. This is where I left it from the reamp section, and I'm in the red channel. On the floor, I have a Morningstar MC6, which I'm using to change the channels on the Syn20IR, as well as the structure switch. So if you see me looking down, or if you see the lights change without me touching it, that's what's going on. So look, I guess I started with a more standard, traditional rock and roll riff in the crunch channel. I think this is still a reasonably usable sound. I feel like it's kind of boring, and I say that about most of the modules, but at the end of the day, it's not that hard to get a stock rock sound. This does a reasonably good job of it. So let's go to the blue channel as I've currently set it up. I have set the module up in that the blue channel is the crunch sound and the red channel is the lead sound. So they are identical. It's not like the Soldano module that we demoed, the last demo that we did, in which both channels were voiced slightly differently. These are the same, which, it's great if you just want your same sound, but you want it louder for a solo. You don't really need to use the crunch channel at all. I guess a lot of people with the 5150s don't really a lot of people don't love the crunch channel. At the same time, I've met plenty of people who swear by the crunch channel just with the gain cranked up. It's a weird amp like that. Personally, when I use the original ones, I like the red channel with the gain on it. And, I just sort of set the knobs somewhere around 12 o'clock, give or take a little bit, and then turn the gain up until it sounds fairy enough, and you're pretty much off and running. So it's kind of not that hard to dial in. I'd say this amp's pretty much the same. Even as I was twisting knobs, pressing structure switches and reactance knobs in the reamp section, it just sort of all sounded good. It's not much more to say to it than that. In some ways, it's a little bit boring like that, because to me, this is just a good, normal rock, hard rock, heavy metal guitar sound. So yeah, it's not a characterless sound, and it's not a boring sound, because it definitely has a tone to it. But it's a sound that kind of works for just a lot of different applications. So we're in the crunch channel at the moment, in the crunch voiced channel, which I have set up as the blue channel. Interestingly enough, in playing with the reactance knob on this module and playing with the structure switches, I didn't mind the B setting. It's probably the first amp that I've tried where I didn't mind it. So I'll quickly flick through the structure switches here as I try not to bang my keyboard off the table. I'll play through the structure switches and we'll just have a quick listen on this crunch channel. So I might just bump the gain up just a tiny bit. This is A, B, C, A, B, C. I found C again was maybe a little dark. It's funny. I'm really happy that it hasn't been one setting on the 5 modules that I've gone deep in with this setup. There hasn't been one setting that has just blown me away for everything, and I think really, that Bogner module really benefited from the C structure switch. This one, I think in A or in B, it just sort of works. I think in C, it's probably a little dark sounding. Like always, you can compensate for that in other ways by turning up the reactance knobs and whatnot. But I just kind of feel in A or B, it just feels kind of natural. I'm not sure what it is about B that I don't mind on this one. I might just keep it in A for the sake of consistency, but yeah, just sounds pretty straightforward and pretty rock and roll. The reactance switch, I find it sort of felt a little bit more gnarly cranking it up on the blue channel than it did on the red channel and the crunch than it did the lead. Just a little kind of harsh at the top end. I kind of feel like in the red channel or in the lead channel, maybe it's because it was so much more distorted, but that little bit of harshness that was introduced as the reactance was cranked up just wasn't quite as noticeable and wasn't quite as much of an issue. So I'm sure it will work if, again, like everything, if you've got a dark guitar, maybe it's a great scenario. If you've got dark speakers, it might work. In this scenario, this setup, I think it works reasonably well to keep that reactance knob down around that sort of 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock mark. Too low, I mean, Still okay. Everything's okay. Everything's fine. I mean, that's why you got EQ knobs, right? You can twist it till your heart's content and find the balance. So we'll keep it on this channel with a structure switch A, reactance knob up about 10, 11 o'clock. And this sounds completely fine. It's not overly saturated. It's not overly gainy. I'd say in its current setup, it's not as, it doesn't hit as hard as it does, as I've had it with maybe the Soldano module in a lower gain setting, or some of the other modules that I've tried, like maybe the Fright Deliverance, which I have yet to do a video on. So for me, I'd say probably around here at the like 1 o'clock mark, and even maybe a little bit further up than that is when I start to enjoy it. Sounds okay, but maybe just feels a little bit like a little anemic. You probably heard the bass knob not really do heaps past about 12 o'clock. But it certainly does cut quite a lot and thins out. And I kind of felt like the EQ was similar to that on the treble as well, where it's sort of like, it gets to a point where it doesn't really do anything. If we cut it, I take that back. It feels like it's doing a little bit more than I maybe noticed as I was playing through it. I think it was the Bogner module that had a similar vibe with the bass knob, where it didn't feel like it did that much past about 12 o'clock. So, I mean, maybe in a different cabinet scenario, maybe even in a different power amp setup, it might have a bit more weight to it. But I think in this, it doesn't really have, you know, the big massive like subby boost that I feel like I've had from some other modules. I do find the mid-range control in this pretty active, and I've liked it on quite a few modules, maybe just the tones that I like, but it sort of feels like after you get past about 1 o'clock, it just, I hate to say it, but it opens up a bit. I think you'd probably get away with that as a guitar sound. Just out of interest, I did play it through the reamp section in drop D, but we'll just crank the gain up and hear what that sounds like. This is gain at max. Send the mids back down a bit. I don't mind that. It's not as full on sounding as the red channel. It's a little bit, maybe a little bit more usable. Maybe that's the thing with the crunch channel. It just has to be past that sort of 1 o'clock just to fill in a bit more. It's almost like it colors the sound in, like you got your textures and you know, coloring in a picture. And it doesn't feel, it feels gainy, but it doesn't feel too over the top as what we'll get to when we hit the red channel, which I think we'll do that right now. Now, I flicked the switch over, which you probably saw. We're in the same structure switch, the reactance is the same. The mids actually were a little bit higher than what I had on the blue. Interestingly enough, it sounds kind of similar to me. I might actually back the mids and the bass. I'll make the EQ the same, and I'll just flick through these two channels in this current mode. Blue. Sorry, red channel. Blue. Red. Blue. They're in the ballpark. It reminds me a lot. I mean, there's quite a drastic difference in where the gain is set on both of these channels. Maybe we could just drop the gain down on the lead just to match. Still feels even there like the red's a bit more saturated. That feels a little closer to me. Maybe a little hairier. It's in the same vein as what we have with the Soldano module, where Both channels weren't voiced exactly the same, even with the knob set in the same position. But if you think of this module as the lead channel starts there on the gain pot where the crunch channel kind of ends, I mean, there's a lot of gain available in this. And once again, if you're playing metal or, you know, you want to rip a lead like a solo with heaps of gain on it and just let the tone sustain for days, I think you got plenty of it on there to deal with. I liked this module again, mids up a little bit, treble and bass kind of to taste. Like, to be honest, with the original amps, and it kind of goes for the 5153 and the 5150 and the 5152, I don't feel like I'm always dialing in the EQ to match. It's just like it's a little bit either side of halfway, and that kind of does it for me. I mean, the biggest difference between this module and what the real amp is the lack of presence and depth controls. So that will still contribute to the tone of those amps, and you know, you can get a pretty big subby beefy tone with that resonance knob cranked up, and vice versa. Like the amount of like clarity and like chainsaw you can get from the presence knob cranked up is pretty extreme. So, you know, that's missing from this, but I think we could possibly try and get some more of that back with the EQ and with the reactance knob. Let's just see what happens, shall we? I want to just get a bit more. Let's crank the gain up a bit. Like, gain-wise, that feels pretty good to me. I don't think I need to go too much more than that. Maybe what it's missing is kind of that like high-end fuzzy sheen sort of thing, which is like kind of annoying in some contexts, particularly recording, but it's pretty fun to play through. Sometimes I do wonder if what I like is distortion or it's just that level of like fur. And it's kind of a bit of a funny balance. It's like both knobs or both settings, whatever it is, I've got to just play with them a little bit on a, maybe on like a full-size head to get that balance. So I don't know, let's crank the reactance up and hear what happens. You can start to hear it kick in there. That actually feels a bit more 5150, 5150 actually to me. Original or the 5153. It has a bit more of that kind of. I can hear it come in like a lot when the when that reactance hits that 3 o'clock spot as well. I feel like we've gone a little too far. It's just starting to feel a bit weird, but I don't know about everybody else, but sometimes when I'm dialing in an amp, and particularly for distortion and high end, maybe distortion, it's that kind of just that buzzy high end that you can just feel the spot where it kicks in. And you know, when it just kicks in and doesn't get too extreme is where I usually like it. There's a bit extreme. That feels kind of cool to me. You know, it's not something that I think I can get with the treble knob. We'll try it and we'll see what happens if I crank that up a bit. Yeah, the treble is not the frequency. It's higher than that. I don't hate the treble up a little bit, but it gets a real clang sort of a sound. And yeah, I think the reactance just up a little bit more helps with that. Yeah, that sort of chainsawiness is what I always think of with that, and like a dual rectifier as well. Probably the only knock on that setting at the moment is I didn't love the reactance really high when it was in the blue channel or in the rhythm channel, the crunch channel. So I'll just quickly flick over to that and just hear what that sounds like. So that feels okay. I don't mind that. Maybe it's slightly lower gain settings. It's not as full sounding to me with that with the reactance cranked up, but it's still usable. I think this module, kind of like some of the other high gain modules that we've discussed, it's like you use it for your rock sound, your gain sound, and then your more gain sound. Like you're not going to do like a lower gain as your breakup sort of thing with it, and play Brown Eyed Girl. You kind of have to play something a little bit more rock and roll than that, shall we say? So if that's what you need out of a tone and in the studio, I think this is a pretty good option for that. That was the Peavey 6505 module for the Synergy system. Once again, thank you so much to Synergy for sending this to me to demo. I've always have a fat time trying all these modules out. There's plenty more videos to come. If there's anything that you'd like me to demo from the pile, like I've got most of the modules, just hit me up and let me know if there's something you'd like to hear. I'm happy to try it in different contexts as well. It doesn't have to be all, playing with the Les Paul and whatnot. I'm really looking forward to trying some different things with the Syn20IR as well. I'm keen to experiment the IR output on it and just work out a few things with a clean channel and just some general gain structure settings with how the master volume interacts with other settings on the amp. So that's all going to come soon, as well as a few tips and techniques for guitar recording and guitar mixing and general studio stuff if anybody is interested. So thank you so much for checking this out. Go watch all the other videos if you haven't done so already. Like the channel, like the video, subscribe to the channel, and I will see you next time. Thank you very much. Peace.